Hey, it's Matt Moscona. You found it. It's AFR LSU, your home for daily content on your favorite team, Fighting Tigers of LSU. And we're proud to be presented by BetUS, where this football season, get a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next two deposits up to $2,000. Be sure to use the promo code YouTube150. Now, enjoy the video. Sean, it's always our pleasure. How are you?
I'm doing great, Matty. How are you, buddy?
Man, honestly, I'd be doing a whole lot better if the Saints and the Tigers didn't throw up on themselves this weekend. But let's get into it. Hey, let me start with Garrett because, we talked here with you a couple weeks ago and raved about the performance he had against Ole Miss and how good he was. Boy, he was pretty good for 2.5 quarters on Saturday, and then, man, it just unraveled. I guess every quarterback has those days. What did you see?
There was a combination of things. I think that with the lead, the poor decisions led to some interceptions, adjustments by Mike Elko's defense. We knew going in how good they were. And then when you get to a point where you feel it, man, I can't speak for Nuss, but I can tell you this, and being in situations when you're going good, you can close your eyes and it feels like you're throwing at the right guy and you're making good decisions with accuracy. When it starts to go the other way, it doesn't make, they could be sitting in front of you and you can't reach out and hand it to them like you want to. And I don't think you'll see 3 interceptions by him and a half again. And the second half, it was just, the adjustments they made, they were flying to the football, and it almost felt like the defense of A&M fed off what they were doing in the run game. And when you turn it over 3 times in the second half, give them, fields where they can go score, and they throw for less than 100 yards in the second half, and you completely shut down their starting quarterback. And Weigman is a mere shell. We talked last week, Matty, and I told you, I said, the guy's better than this, but for some reason, his confidence has gone into this is not the same guy that I've seen in the past, and they needed to make a change, and it obviously worked for them. A lot of times those don't work, but they made it, and I think for what happens is once you start to see it like that, then you start to, I call it, and my mom used to call it, don't borrow trouble. You start to see things that you're not used to, that really aren't there. They don't exist, because Nussmeier, 90%, he's not going to make decisions like that and throws, and they were flying around defensively. And I don't believe in game-to-game momentum, never have. I believe in-game momentum, and I do believe that their defense fed off the way that I was shocked at how one-dimensional A&M's offense was in the second half, and that LSU couldn't defend the one dimension. And then you couple that with, the botched special teams, and then you start to press as a quarterback. Now, like I said, he's shown so much the guts of a great, great player has Nussmeier, but you are going to have him. But unfortunately, 108,000 on the road in a huge game against a rival, it's going to be more hyper-focused because it happened against a team like that instead of, a game that you can overcome those and still win. You can't overcome 3 quarterback throws and a defense that literally looked like it was the first time they've ever seen RPO action off the quarterback run. I was actually shocked by the tale of the 2 games and shocked just by how I literally, Matt, there was a point in time at halftime that I thought, I'm going to tape the rest, but I'm going to, look at some other game. I had a lot going on, other games that I said I'm going to focus in on, even though, that was the biggest game. I said, well, I'm going to keep it there, but my eyes going to some other games. And I'll tell you, I couldn't do that because it changed on a dime, and the adjustments at halftime and the guts it takes for a head coach to make a move on a veteran and bring in a guy who really was one-dimensional and dominated LSU was shocking to me.
We'll get right back to the video, but my pleasure to remind you about our friends over at BetUS, great partners here on AFR LSU this football season. Remember, they still got that great offer, a 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits, up to $2,000. Why wouldn't you take advantage of this? Make sure you use the promo code YouTube150. Let's make our weekly bet. It's so easy. I'll show you how to use the platform. You go to BetUS there on the sports book. On the left side, you'll see the football tab. It's this easy. We're going to hit the football tab. We're going to select college football. And, of course, we know that LSU and Alabama, they're not going to play until next week. But a lot of the early lines are posted. If you want to scroll down to the bottom, you can probably see some of those early lines that are posted for a game coming up the following weekend. Don't see it just yet, so no worries. We could play another game coming up this weekend. How about if we look at something on Friday night? Georgia, UConn, South Florida, Florida Atlantic, San Diego State against Boise State. Tell you what, Boise State is rolling, ton on the line, but the closer they get, you get close to the end of the season, 23.5 is an awful lot. Give me the Aztecs 23.5. We'll keep it light, just a $10 bet there. Place the bet. It'll ask you to confirm. We'll tap it there. It'll give me my confirmation ticket, and we're locked in. San Diego State getting 23.5 against Boise State on the Smurf turf. We'll see how it goes coming up this Friday night. Remember, you can bet too. It's just that easy. If you go to BetUS, make sure you use the promo code YouTube150 for a 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two deposits, up to $2,000 with the promo code YouTube150. Now, enjoy the video. LSU had defended that so well a week prior with
no doubt
with Taylor Green in Arkansas. What did you see? And Sean, how hard is that? I mean, doesn't it stand to reason like you did this a week ago? Why was it so hard to defend that Saturday?
You know, it almost, and Matt watching it, and I usually go back, like with certain, I'll watch the teams that because I go on with you, and in Minnesota, I'll watch that game twice. I have not watched the LSU game a second time, but just from watching the naked eye and observing it, and I'm sure you watch differently too. I don't just watch it as a fan. I watch it like knowing we're going to talk about the nuances of the game. I don't know, and I may have an answer for you as far as when I say I don't know. I understand how the RPO works in defending it, but it felt like that they were so intent on tackling the back that you give this guy space, and he made all the right decisions. And it is weird. Now, some team will formation it different, and some people will, there's different ways to get to it. But really, with 22 guys on the field and only 11, there's not a whole lot you can do out of it, right? Yeah. That you haven't seen. And a lot of it has to do with the kid's a playmate. He's got a skill set. And when Conner Weigman was hurt, he came in and did a nice job too. So the guy's got skills, but and it's not even just this year. And I know things change, coaches change and the rest of it, but the truth of the matter is that you've seen that this is a staple play across college sports in the NFL now on certain teams, depending on who the quarterback is. And Brian Kelly's right. When I saw the quote of, I would do that against us as well. And that's and not tackling the quarterback. The way you defend it, Matt, and I know it's similar to the way you defend the triple I or when you're playing Army, not the formation or the play. They're completely different. But the one thing I know going back to when I was growing up and when you were growing up, and then when you played junior high and high school and all those things, and when teams ran the option, the one goal too is hit the quarterback every time he comes down the line, right? Yeah. You hit him. He gives it. He's still open game because you say, "Well, you hit him." And I almost feel like whether it's rules or people, that quarterback, whether he has the ball in his hand or not, and comes out of that RPO, you got to body him up. You just do. It's like it was as if you gave a Dennis Rodman, who was great on the offensive glass, or a body like Shaq. These guys, it was almost as if you said, you know what? I'm going to give him free reign to the offensive glass. I'm not going to put a body on him. And when you don't do that and you get a talented guy coupled with not assignment sound, I don't know how you dial it up defensively to stop it other than put a body on the guy who's damaging you the most. Now, you still got to tackle him and wrap up, but it was really odd to me. I was flabbergasted thinking, okay, this is going to be a hell of a game. But the way it changed, and it all came at once in that second half. Quarterback was on fire. They couldn't tackle him. And then they offensively cannot move the ball, and they're turning it over. And even if they started to get back into a roll, another interception from a guy who's been as reliable and as tough as there's been in college football this year, and Nussmeier in clutch situations. He won't forget this one, and I wouldn't expect him to have it happen again. But unfortunately, it happened, and Mike Elko's defense won that second half battle, and they didn't do enough in the first half to create enough space that even if the guy did play great in the second half, you still had space to win, and it didn't happen. And I was shocked on both ends, the Nussmeier decisions and turnovers, and I was shocked by the way that and even worse, Matty, the one dimension you knew they weren't going to throw. Yeah. But once in a while, you hit a couple of them, but I think he only threw completed 2 or 3 balls in the second half.
Also threw 2 passes. Yeah.
2 passes, I think. And so, and even then they couldn't stop him. So there's assignment sound, and, whether it's overzealous, but you've got to you've got to almost treat it like the old school triple option or the veer or the speed option. That quarterback has to be hit regularly when you're playing defending RPO or option or anything else.
I'm glad you did talk about Nuss and the adjustments, because we'll wrap this segment with this thought. How much of Nussmeier's struggles were his decisions? How much was it whatever adjustment A&M made defensively?
I think it was both. I don't think it's in situations like that. Even when you're watching a quarterback, it doesn't matter what level, and you see a poor decision. Sometimes poor decisions are by the defense giving you, but once again, to either chasing a ghost or borrowing trouble. Like, well, that guy goes there, and that guy's supposed to go here. And then what happens? And I'm just telling you, I know this. I can remember a game we were playing in the NFL against Seattle. Well prepared we were going, and we were on the road. And it didn't matter. It's the most interceptions I threw 4 picks, and any of us quarterbacks have been through it know what that's like. And one of them was a pick 6. It did not matter what I did. And then I'm starting creating stuff. Well, in cover 3, that guy's supposed to be there, and he's not there. Well, Sean, you better adjust. You can't throw it there. And so your vision gets skewed. It was both. Trust me, he didn't just drop back and say, oh, I'm seeing the same things I always see. Elko knew he had to make some adjustments and give some different looks and speed up the process. It's not so much as even speeding up the decision. It's speeding up the quarterback's mind when it's not necessary. And then when you're pressing and realize it's a rivalry, all those things, I know people don't want to believe it, especially for a guy like that who has been nothing but poised under pressure since he's been an LSU Tiger and this year. Even when he hasn't played his best game, he's been able to come back from, a turnover or a mistake or laying the ball on the ground. But Mike is one of the best in the country, Mike Elko, at making adjustments. And then with that, on the decision split second late. And remember, man, as you know, SEC football is the closest step to playing Sundays that there is in college football. And if you're a step late, boom, guys drive on it. And they did a great job of knowing what LSU liked to do and using tendencies or the analytics that we have in football, which are tendencies to make it. So decision, adjustment, and when you've made a poor decision and you're thrown to the wrong spot, what you do? Everything speeds up and you hit this. It's not a panic button, but it is you're almost operating under not even stress, under the duress that goes with. You start to make, teams that make or players that make hasty decisions based on, if they start to struggle, then everything, the built-in time clock speeds up. And then you start doing things that are out of character. And we've all been there. And it looked to me like that was happening to us. And then they didn't drop the ball when he threw it to them. That's another thing. The defense caught it. And a lot of times you'll get away with a couple or one where they don't catch it. But they caught it. And when you're under, when you're making those decisions and the adjustments were better for them in the first half. And then Mike Elko's team did about as good a job as you'll see in a second half adjustment of dealing with a really good football player and a really good quarterback who I think's a first day pick on opening as this continues as we roll around in the NFL draft. But they got the best of them, and their second half was better than LSU's first half. And that's as a one-dimensional offense, they were still able to pull it off.
It was wild, man. It was wild to see.
Sure was.
Sean Salisbury is our guest.
And the word I was looking for, Matty, I didn't mean it, was desperate. Where you get desperate when you start to make mistakes, and so you start to see things that aren't there, and then when you're desperate, you get through reads a little too quickly, and the deep breath isn't quite as deep as you need it to be, and he'll rebound, but it's hard to salvage that after you lose a game against Texas A&M.
Yeah, man, it was tough to watch. Hard to find a game where there was such a dramatic about-face, where one team felt like they were so firmly in control, and then it went so very badly.
No doubt. It was a crazy watch, no doubt.
Thanks so much for watching the video. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, hit the bell so you're notified when we post a new video, and remember to support BetUS, where right now you can get a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Be sure to use that promo code YouTube150.